You hear straight A stars and you immediately think, no exercise, no social life, and I spend my whole day studying locked in my room. I've never heard a worse lie. You need to realize that if you want to get top 1% success in anything in your life, that it's not all about how well you do that thing, it's about how well you manage your life on top of that as well. I know there are people out there who can actually sit and study all day with no exercise and no social life, but I know for a fact I can't. So I'm someone who's getting straight A stars, but doesn't study all day. So what do I do instead? That's what this video is for. I'm going to be showing you how I spend my weekend for fulfillment and not just getting those grades. So ultimately, the structure of this video will be me describing my routine, then explaining all of the insights that I got from making this. And hopefully those insights are things that you can go and start applying into your own life. So not only will you be getting better grades, but you'll be spending your time on the weekend achieving things which will help you gain more fulfillment. So every weekend without fail, my routine looks like this. I wake up at about 5:30 and then I have a small morning routine that takes me till 6 where I meditate and do a little bit of journaling. From 6 to about 9 I am studying. So there's 2 or 3 hours where I'm doing some deep unfocused work. From 9 to 10 I'm eating and getting dressed for myself to go to the gym from 10 to about 12. I get home about 12:30, but at that time I'm a little bit tired, so I take a bit of time off to read instead. That's from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. And at 2 o'clock I have my second block of studying for 1 or 2 hours until 4, maybe 5, where I've pretty much done all the work I need to do for a day. So it's time for me to wind down and switch off. Whether that's me to spend time with my family, my friends, or watch the football or whatever. Doing things which I personally enjoy, which don't involve my work. And depending what I have on the weekend, I'll hopefully be in bed by 9, 10, 10:30 latest. So that's me journaling and reading, preparing myself to go for bed at around 10:30. So let's break this down. My morning looks like this. I wake up, have a small morning routine, then I do my work straight away. I put my work before absolutely anything because I feel like if my work is the thing that's going to take me towards my goals, why don't I put my maximum intense focus on that before I do anything else in my day? There are times during the summer holidays where I actually didn't follow this advice. So I'll be waking up a bit later, about 7. I'll be doing half an hour of work, eating, and then going to the gym at 8 o'clock onwards. I had only done half an hour of work. Is half an hour of work enough for me to achieve my goals? Clearly not, because I didn't really achieve those things within the 2 months where I was slacking off a little bit that I actually did want to achieve. I felt like it was necessary for me to introduce a new rule for myself. The gym is something that would take me away from my work, so that if I had the thought of going to the gym in the morning and I listened to that impulse, I would go and not do my work. The new rule that I've implemented is that I need to hit a minimum amount of output before I go to the gym. Notice how I didn't say that I was going to study for a minimum number of hours before I go to the gym. What's more important is that you hit that minimum output. The difference between the output that you have and the hours that you do is that you can do your output in very few hours, but you can't do more hours in the same amount of time, if that makes sense. The number of hours that you work for ultimately does not matter one bit, so long as you can get a lot of work done. It's more admirable to do more work in the same amount of time. So if you can do more work in the same amount of time, that's great. You need to focus on the things that are getting done or the things that you're producing. Sometimes you may not be able to see the things that you're producing, and maybe hours may be useful. So let's say when you're revising for a certain subject, let's say physics, and you need to do a couple of hours, and in those couple of hours you complete one chapter. There'll come a point where you've spent about 2 hours doing that physics work and you've only covered 3/4 of the chapter. What you could do is either continue to complete the chapter fully within the next half an hour or 45 minutes, or you could just stop there and say, oh, that's the amount of output which I'm happy with before I go and do anything else. So yeah, what you can take away from this is that you're most productive in the mornings, and before you do anything else that you do want to do, make sure that you get a minimum output, a minimum number of tasks that you've completed and that you're happy with, so that you have felt productive in that morning. And just as a side note, when you do productive work in the morning, it has such a positive impact on you for the rest of the day. You feel a lot happier knowing that, one, you don't have the burden of that work to do later on, and two, that because you don't have that burden, you have a lot more free time, so you can go and spend that time doing whatever you feel like. In fact, I don't really agree with doing whatever you feel like, because my second piece of advice is all about not doing things which are considered instant gratification by yourself or alone. Instant gratifications are things like playing video games, eating junk food, or scrolling on social media on your phone. I feel like it's okay to do those things so long as you're with other people. But when you're by yourself, there are things which are so much more productive that you could be doing and that could take you further in your life than doing those instant gratification things, namely delayed gratification. So the biggest place where you can see that in my day is after I come home from the gym, when I'm eating and reading instead of doing the instant gratification. It is so easy for me to go and scroll on my phone, but I choose instead to go and read. The reason why I don't do any of those things is because it completely destroys your dopamine receptors. Notice how I said earlier that when you do productive work, you get that feeling of satisfaction, or you get a burden lifted from your shoulders. That feeling is exaggerated or exemplified or amplified so much when you remove instant gratification from your life. That's because you start to find pleasure and fulfillment, but proper fulfillment, in doing hard work and not just scrolling your phone constantly for hours on end. I'm gaining that same feeling from reading now. I didn't used to before, so I was tempted to stop reading completely. But now, over time, when I've cut out junk food, video games, scrolling from my life, I start finding a lot more fulfillment in the smaller things, or the things that require more effort for me to do. And so that's why I'm more likely to go and do those things in the future. That's not something you must do, but it's something that I would 100% recommend to simply just improve your life. Following on from that, the next main thing I could take away from that routine I discussed earlier was that working hard includes your self-development. I will happily say that I'm working hard until maybe 4 or 5 p.m. every single day. But you may be thinking, but I've gone to the gym in that time. I'm not studying for those full 12 hours from when I wake up to when I stop working in the afternoon. Working hard, or just improving, not only includes improving academically, it also includes working hard physically. So going to the gym, for example, maybe with your mental health with those routines and that reading, or improving socially as well, which I do at the gym pretty much every weekend. I couldn't imagine me staying at home all day and studying. That could just be a personal thing, but I feel like if I don't try to improve at least all of those areas of my life in a weekend, then that weekend hasn't really been productive, even though I may have done a whole lot of work and gone to the gym and improved my mental health. If I hadn't improved myself socially on top of that as well, then maybe that weekend wasn't as successful as I'd thought. And the final thing is that my routine is flexible and adaptable. That isn't immediately present from what I said, because I only gave you a single version of it, so obviously it can't make out to be flexible or adaptable. Going out for lunch with my family is something that I'll put over my work, because I know that I'll get my work done at some point during the day, and if I want to spend time with my family now or maybe later, then I would spend time with my family and do my work at a later time. So let's take that example. I go out for lunch at 12 o'clock and I get home by 3. That is in the middle of my 2 p.m. work block. So what do? I spend a little time preparing myself to do my work, and then I go and sit down and do that 2 hours of work, so that I'm done by maybe 5:30 or 6, which is an hour or two later than I had originally intended. That's perfectly fine. So long as the work gets done, that's all that matters. That minimum output needs to be achieved before I go to bed. I would obviously prefer to do my work in the same routine every single weekend, but there are things that you simply cannot avoid. Let's say your friends organise something or your grandparents come over. Spending time with them is really important, and you should be doing that over your work, so long as you know that work will also get done. Now I've said this, you shouldn't abuse it and just say, oh, I've given you an excuse to go and spend a lot of time out. You still need to have that minimum output before you go to bed, and that's what's really important. Routine is all about helping you produce that output. If you have a routine and you're not producing a lot, or you're not completing many tasks, then that routine isn't really successful and you have to have a little rethink. The best routines help you get things done, but are also flexible to all of the things that may happen in your life. And that's ultimately what I think I've got, and those are the 3 or 4 concepts that I've given to you today, which have really helped this routine become really successful over the past few years. So yeah, if you did find this video helpful, I've got a Discord community down below in my description full of very like-minded students, as you are if you're watching a video like this. I've got a Discord community down below there, but before then, I'll see you in the next video.